camera.
Oh.
Just like the only people is unlisted, and once I get it downloaded to my computer, I'm going to take it off YouTube. So the only people who are going to see it are me, Dr. Eichenlaub, who's my SHA sort of like mentor, and Dr. Susan. All right, so just a reminder, we are live. The only people that'll see it are myself, Dr. Eichenlaub, and Dr. Clark. We are on YouTube live right now. Yeah. You guys want to wave and say hi?
Hi.
All right, we ready to get going? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna hit the lights.
Sir.
All right. So
Is it a live stream?
yeah, it's live.
Now, what is the name of your channel per se?
Okay. So for today, I gave you 2 readings on Tuesday and asked you to pick one, depending on what you are more interested in, either looking at Italian nationalism or German unification. I wanted to start today's class with just a simple little warm-up activity, a CCOT warm-up activity. Can somebody remind me what CCOT stands for? Good. Change continuity over time. Cool. So I think I probably mentioned this before, but at least in our classroom here, we can look out the window and see State Street, which has been around for a long, long time, and we can think about what has changed and what has stayed the same. A lot of the Springfield Armory buildings are several hundred years old, but something like a new crosswalk system, right? Traffic lights, those kinds of things might be more new. Those might be changes. Those buildings being in the same place for several hundred years, that's continuity. Okay? So we have this map here, a map of Europe. I zoomed in specifically so we could focus in on Germany and Italy, the 2 countries you read about for today. I want to start with some continuities. Between the years 1750 and 1871, how many years is that, by the way? 121 years. So like a little over a century. In today's terms, we're going back to like 1901 for like a frame of reference. We could talk about what stayed the same and what's changed in Springfield over 120 years, and that's maybe not too difficult to think about. But what has stayed the same? Let's try to get 5 continuities and 5 changes this morning. Rayla, do you want to start us off? What stayed the same?
The Ottoman Empire stayed the same. Or actually, no,
So they changed. Well, I think let's do 2. Let's do 2 for 1, okay? So we do have a lot of territory in the Ottoman Empire that's still the same, but where do we see a change in the Ottoman Empire on this map? Yeah, so now we have Greece, the nation of Greece, right? You guys read about that earlier this year. Okay, so Spain has stayed the same. Pretty much the same borders there. Yeah. Yeah, France has stayed roughly the same. It's a little bigger. Yeah, like a teeny bit bigger, but for the most part, France has stayed just about the same. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's Sweden. Sweden has stayed roughly the same, although Sweden does lose a little bit of territory as it's absorbed into what becomes Germany.
Great Britain.
Yeah, Great Britain remains the same. Although I do see one change that we'll talk about a lot in Unit 3, industrialization. Yeah, Justin? Yeah, changes between. Do you ever do those when when you were a kid, you ever do those little games where you had like two pictures and it was like spot the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember those? That's kind of what we're doing, like ninth grade world history version. Yeah, Jasmine, you got one? Yeah, Switzerland has stayed the same. Notoriously neutral Switzerland. Yeah.
Like the whole eastern border of like Italy, not like Turkey and Croatia.
Okay.
Not anything.
So it's all different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not.
All right, so we want to get into changes. Okay. So we have, what he's getting at is sort of all this region here on the Adriatic Sea has now been absorbed into this brand new player. The new challenger emerges, the Austria-Hungarian Empire. They will be very important when we get to Unit 6, talking about World War I. Before we get into changes, I did want to just mention one thing, that the land has not changed, right? There are the same islands and the same geography. The mountains haven't gone anywhere. So, like, that's all the same. Okay? There's no new islands popping up or islands disappearing into the sea. That's something that is changing a little bit in our time with climate change, where coastlines are going to shrink. Entire islands will be underwater within the span of your lifetime. Yeah, but we don't need to get all doom and gloom at 9:20 in the morning. Okay, let's look for some changes here. Yeah. So Germany is probably one of the biggest ones. This whole mess that used to be known as the Holy Roman Empire, if you read about German unification, you're aware of this, becomes the new nation state of Germany. Yeah, Raylan, you got another one?
Like some of, like Turkin, it became that green over here,
Yeah.
or it became Turkin, but like no, the green. I don't know how to say it.
Right here?
No. Like this changed into this.
Okay, yeah, so, Turin, I see what you're getting at. So a lot of these states in northern Italy, these kingdoms, become unified into what we think of as Italy. Okay. There was an interesting point made in the, raise your hand if you did the Italy reading. What was that point they made about the Roman Empire? You guys are taking Latin. Say it again? They did speak Latin, some people did.
Before 1861, the last people to rule Italy was Roman.
Yeah, so that gives you an idea of how much time has passed between Italy being unified once under the Roman Empire until it was unified again in the 19th century. That's almost like 2,000 years, 1,500 years or so. All right, let's try to get maybe one or two more changes before we get into some groups based on our name choice. Yeah, Janelle. Yeah. The Ottoman Empire is losing territory. Okay, this is actually controlled by France. That's why it's the same color. Where you talked about Greece, the Ottomans are losing some of their power. Yeah.
Like in general, you see like a lot more cities popping up in Great Britain and the Netherlands.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We will get to this map when we get to Unit 3, but we can see many more cities, especially in Great Britain, cities like that aren't on this map here. We have London and my own Edinburgh, where I studied for a year. But now we also have Newcastle, Leeds, Manchester, Sheffield, Birmingham, Bristol, Plymouth. That's Liverpool. So if anyone's like a soccer fan and knows the English Premier League, you're hearing some names. Yeah, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool. Right, you're hearing some of those names, Newcastle. Those cities. Even cities like Hamburg, Munich's not on this first map. So in a short amount of time, did you want to add one more? Oh yeah, Belgium. Hi Belgium. Love your waffles.
What's the Sayed?
That here.
Oh yeah,
A race.
Poland. We're talking about by Poland. Poland at this point is part of. Anybody guess what is in blue here?
Empire.
Yeah, Russian Empire. Good. Soon to be Soviet Union.
Glory to Mother Russia.
If you careful, if you wait about like 40 years or so, we can start talking about the Soviet Union. Not there yet. Okay. So what I'd like to do next, based on which reading you chose to do for today, we're going to get into some groups. Those groups are going to just have a chance to go over some of the vocabulary for your reading. Clarify some of the vocabulary because I already heard there were a couple words like what's a bayonet. There's some vocabulary here that I think is important and relevant and encouraging you to use in your essay next week. What I'd like you to do is get into your groups, just have a conversation about the vocabulary first. Then there are going to be 4 questions. You're going to need 4 volunteers from your group. They're going to come up to the front of the room and sort of like teach us the basics about your reading. Make sense? After that, after we do the Germany group goes, then the Italy group goes, because G comes before I in the alphabet. You guys know that?
Yeah.
You know? Welcome back. After that, we're going to type up a response, kind of warm up our fingers, get ready for next week. And with whatever time we have left, we can start to do some study for tomorrow's check for understanding. So if it feels like I'm kind of turning up the temperature a little bit, because I am, right? 1:45, starting to turn up the temperature a little bit. All right. And all of this is going to get into progress reports, which are closing next week. So, yeah, I know already, believe it or not. But I think we're in pretty good shape. And if we are struggling, I'll have some conversations during that last chunk of time. Okay, so let's see. Can I please have the Germany group head over to the ping pong table? And the Italy group, I'd like you to make a circle here in the comfy chairs because life's better in Italy. That's my own opinion. Having been to both places, I prefer Italy. So, when you need your computers, I think it's a good idea to bring, if you need to look up vocab. If you want to look at the classroom first. So again, Germany is over at the ping pong table. Italy in the middle, and if you did neither, meet me in the back of the room. If you did neither, meet me in the back of the room.
You did both already?
Yeah.
Well, then choose a group.
These are still interns in Italy.
Oh, it's not.
Okay.
Yes, ball waiting.
Guys, look, I actually did something.
Me too. Is this the Italy group? Wow, you guys really did take all these different principalities and kingdoms and unify. Can you try to make a circle so that everybody can see everybody? Why don't you go Germany? Maybe you Germany. So I think if you guys didn't get to it, you need extras. I'm gonna ask that you do Germany just because German representation is pretty limited. All right, so I want you guys to go over to the ping pong table. I will bring you what you need. Jason, can you join the Germany group too? Germany group. Not you.
Can you chill out?
These are like their ancestors. Here, you go to Germany. So you can join the circle.
Oh
Alright, so first up, can we go over the vocabulary from your section? Are there any new words, tough words?
Oh, that was her pencil. Why are you yelling?
Often, as a thing, you would attach the front of it.
Oh.
They were used mostly even into.
You are not live. You are live.
Yeah, so at the end, once you guys have talked about your vocabulary, you have these 4 questions. And you're gonna need 4 volunteers to come up to the board and teach the German group about your reading. And these are in your class.
Mister, I need a question.
They're in your class box. Alright, so, we are talking about German, Bismarck, German.
You did a lot more than me.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna ask you just kind of go over the vocab, make sure everyone's good on the words that we're saying. Yeah, or you could look on. You need 4 volunteers to share your thoughts and your responses. No, but I will make note.
I didn't do the first
Alright.
So, Mister, we're teaching a class about what we want. You need to talk to the other
What?
Well, you can.
I don't want to go.
Like, I'm giving you a suggestion. Everything total. See by the end.
We didn't even start.
To keep like on a healthy track. Okay. Well,
Yeah, please. I genuinely.
we don't want
was accepting later.
to. Yeah, we don't want to do like. We're not gonna do like order closing. We don't want to do that. I think it's sort of like this is when we're gonna write about it in class. This is when it's suggested that you do it. Because we use class time to write. So if we don't read it, then the writing gets postponed. It's kind of like make more work for ourselves if we're not.
You say that you'd be great at Really?
Yes. Okay. So which ones did you need?
So the first,
You need Italy, Germany. Did you get ethnic nationalism and Napoleon?
so I started organizing.
Oh, great.
I didn't finish.
That's okay.
Do you want another binder? So do like an 8-day binder and a 3-day binder? The binders?
Literally, that's what I got.
For that one, I want to buy it. It fits. Oh, wait, no.
How is it ish? First of all, are you talking about what's the first part? Like when you said that they were so then you want to show
So all I have is the points.
So which ones do you need nationalism?
Like, how many packets have you given us this quarter?
This quarter, 7.
So there, you going up there, right? Conservative.
Didn't do anything.
Oh, well, when I went for it, it was like, she was shocked as soon as I heard that, like,
So who are our 4 speakers?
We need 4.
I'll be the second one. Me and the middle.
No, so you have specific questions.
I might need to review it. Like I said, I rushed through this one. Italy gets actually too close. Germany.
Wait, I'm gonna go over there and ask you.
And then once who actually talks, I don't mind talking. It's what
I mean, I took a look, it was just 4 questions, I thought it was like, talk about this. I'm not gonna look around here.
Yeah, one of them love this. Yeah, we said if you want to use it.
Yeah, it's on the slide.
Are you sure?
That's the first question is distraction.
Yeah.
All right, so who are our 4 speakers?
Ask me for one.
Yeah.
Is anyone here?
it's either one of
Yeah, take it.
Before when?
them.
All right, cool.
Or do you want to do that? I don't know.
Before 1800.
We feel ready to go.
Wait, already you guys are close. No, wait, wait, what's
I mean, I love
That's not.
I say no to quotes. If I put it in there, I won't be mad.
Oh.
Hey, folks, it's 9:38.
I mean, there's a centralized government.
How about we start to come together and hear from our peers in
Yeah, start with Italy first.
10 minutes?
Italy first.
That's a little much.
10, 12 minutes?
But then we're just like,
Let's try for 9:50, okay? Let's try for 9:50.
there was a centralized government.
Whose paper is this?
Centralized government. How were political?
This is just
That's sense of a government they had. That's how it was like. I mean, Germany was governed by
Yeah, they suck. He said we just go up there.
Yeah, but like, we need to understand.
The first one we see describes.
If you wanna read from.
Yo, no, I-
you can read.
That's it.
Oh.
You got those.
You want me to read? Yeah.
So, we're political.
They were
Right.
governed by Austria, Russia.
Is that all that's like?
How much time?
I feel like I should stuff, but I just don't wait, but I don't. Like using it.
I mean, they were part of the
Right there.
This tells me.
they were empire.
I have two highlights.
Let's get into it.
Look, I have. Grab it.
Oh, yeah. So we want to go. This is quartz. That's.
Oh, they were, okay, is that?
Wait, I just did it.
But in case, in all of them, thinking, what is the reason for
So that's how it
I
was.
just added it.
of the revolutionary was their downfall.
So the Roman Republic.
So they were given a
Yeah.
So this
I'm gonna go into sort of like one readings, two readings.
I had it, I recorded it.
Readings, split them up so that'll be a little easier.
So, just give me.
I only do 1780. I'm apologizing.
And then
This is the first one.
I just did it.
Wait, before.
It's gonna be heavy. We're doing number one.
Yeah.
The idea is for it.
I already have it.
Okay, then make it. And you're doing two. You're doing two. I'll do three.
Wait.
No, I have.
Oh, I wasn't right. Like, balance and balance, they would make.
What's another word for one?
So they were governed by.
What?
Organized. Theirs was How does Snow White have a good?
I actually.
Talk about it on the second.
Yeah, it was a very exciting number. So.
Alright.
HAID over there.
I'm buying it. Alright, yeah, I got it.
The moon, where is
That was that my birthday present.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everywhere.
That's exactly that.
No, but this is.
No, but I'm saying like you can work on the inside. And it's like, and you still better than 5 if they don't. Any others?
Hey folks, 5 minutes, okay?
We're gonna get a
And we'll start our teaching sessions.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is fun. Wait, so what I'm saying, so pretty.
Me and her, chorus sisters.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Alright guys, I'm talking before I got it. You know, you never know what happens right now. I know it's
All right, Italy, y'all ready?
Yes.
Okay.
They're going to trust me.
Say that. One thing I've learned as a parent. Maybe wipe salt. It's true. See?
over the summer.
I think we're good.
You want it?
What name is
That's a 16.
Which one?
That my brain has been keeping it as a name, but I just read it again. I'm like, that's a city state.
Yeah, people in Sardinia. Yep. All right. let's do it, folks. If we could please return to our original seats. We are gonna start off with the Germany group.
Oh, something happened to the computer. Metro there.
Yeah.
Something happened with their laptop.
Oh, okay, thank you.
No problem. What am I to fail?
Are these your yearbook pictures?
Oh, those little ones?
Why do you have all those? Why are there
Excited
so
gave
many?
them to me. There's like 8 of them.
There is eight
Am I
of them.
ill?
No.
It was by accident. No, I literally went like this again.
All right. Italy group, I think what might be helpful is if we took out our German unification reading. There's a lot of space on the back. That maybe we can just like jot down a few things that we hear.
I didn't read that one.
That's okay. This will be then like a little preview.
I would like to go first, actually. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at it. Okay, so, what's one thing not that you do?
Mister, I can't find mine.
No, I'm just gonna look at the video. I'm going to look at this.
This is why you need to use a 3-ring sign.
I said that.
Hey, interest you in the 3-ring bike?
No, I don't remember my backpack.
German unification. Here you go. Jeremy, you guys ready? All right, come on over.
Oh, I know where it is. I'm like outside.
You want that? Go for it. Yeah. Germany group, don't worry, I can help you fill in the gaps if needed.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, so if you are speaking from the German group, you can head on up to the front. And in an attempt to maybe like form some good energy and some good vibes, can I have a volunteer from the Italy group read the summary of the Germany group's reading? Yeah? Raylan, you want to do it?
The whole thing?
Why don't you do it up until where it says Napoleon's invasions changed that?
Today we all use the idea of Germany, but before 1800s, there was no country called Germany. Hundreds of small states and provinces made up the Holy Roman Empire, and they are from a unified nation state. Napoleon's invasions changed that.
Somebody to finish it off? Yeah, go.
By destroying the Holy Roman Empire, Napoleon made it possible for Germany to eventually unite. In the 19th century, writers and politicians started promoting the idea of a German nation. One politician and masterful diplomat, Otto von Bismarck,
Good.
engineered 2 wars where the German state of
Prussia.
Prussia
Yep.
defeated Austria and France. Finally, the nation-state of Germany was united.
All right, thanks everybody. So our vocab words for this reading were confederation, conservative, liberal, militarism, nationalism, and parliament. Germany group, was there any word that was like brand new to you that you had to look up? Was there any of these vocab words that was like brand new and maybe a little confusing? No. Any parliament? Might be one. Parliament is not too different from our word Congress, right? Militarism, it's an ism, so it's a belief. It's a belief in the military. Yeah. So if you believe in militarism, you believe in your country having a strong military. That is always getting bigger and stronger.
Wait.
It's okay, they're on classroom. All right, so number 1, describe Germany before 1800. How were political communities organized?
So, Germany before the 1800s was politically organized in the community by a centralized government. So it was governed by the Holy Roman Empire before the 1800s. And these, they were rules mostly by they were ruled loosely, so they weren't like self-contracted, they weren't like enforced as well, like a lot of slavery, nothing like that. It was more like just land enforcement. We just took the land. And before the 1800s, these the Roman. I just confused myself.
No, you're doing fine.
Before the 1800s, Germany was divided into 35 states, so they called Holy Roman Empire. These 35 states have like initials like ours do from AK. They went alphabetically in order
Thanks, Joseph. Yeah. Did it feel like they had a shared sense of identity? Each of you shaking your head no? Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, there wasn't much of a shared sense of identity yet. That's where question 2 comes into play. What does Snow White have to do with German nationalism? Was she a princess?
Yes. Yeah, she was a princess. With the 7, yeah, she was a Disney princess. Are you princess?
I know.
No, she's an actual princess.
Yes, that's right.
She got married.
With the poison apple.
Yes.
Wasn't she?
Why are you?
Was she a princess at the beginning and then like?
No, but she had
I think that's why I was confused.
She was probably.
She wasn't a princess at the beginning. I guess
She gets kissed by the slave.
Oh yeah, because the lady she was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, and that's the thing. Sleeping Beauty is where she like pricks her finger. I love
Very similar, like both sleeping while they sleep.
No, Snow White was dead.
Snow White wasn't dead.
Poison.
What makes her dead?
Have you never watched it?
I have, but like forever.
All right, Aisha, you're doing number 2?
Yeah.
All right, what does Snow White have to do with German nationalism?
Okay. Snow White. Yeah. Snow White. Nationalism. Because Snow White was a story written by the Brothers Grimm to give German speakers an unified history and culture. Also, the Enlightenment ideas were rejected by these biased expressions of the heroes in Snow White and the Little Red.
Yeah, there's a couple other stories that you all might be familiar. Maybe you've heard, Rumpelstiltskin. Have you heard about the Brothers
Hazel
Grimm?
and Gretel.
Hansel and Gretel. Yeah, a lot of these stories. Cinderella is another one that were written in the Brothers Grimm fairy tales. Okay, great. Thanks, Aisha. Let's go to number 3.
Where those
So the
stories
question
like really
was,
dark?
what role does the author
Some of them can be dark, yeah, but
they have?
they received a sort of new telling from Disney. I'm so sorry. I cut him off. I'm being rude. Violence. What role did it play in creating the German state?
The role that in the German state was, first of all, when Prussia won against Bismarck did not want to be under Austrian influence, so he went against Austria, And in about 7 weeks, he won against them. So while this ended Austrian influence, this destroyed the the German Confederation in Germany. Later on, he went against France, since France was also trying to compete against them, since they didn't want to have too much power. Later on, Russia also went against that too, not destroying both Austria and France completely in order to maintain a sort of balance of peace.
Thanks, Cynthia. Yeah. So there's one reason and sort of way that we go from Prussia here in yellow to Germany here in yellow, right? And that's through war, that's through violence, that's through militarism. Yeah, good. Blood and iron was like a phrase that they used. Sounds very like Game of Thrones. Okay, last question. Why did Bismarck succeed against internal and external opposition? Joe Mark, this is our chance to practice speaking in front of people. You're doing great.
So for external opposition, I found like two different things. So for one of them, he avoided war with like the European, I'm pretty sure it was, by dividing up Africa. And then also, he kept Germany like strong enough to like support themselves in like wars and all stuff like that, and also Prussia. But he kept them like, he was smart enough to make them weak enough to where it wouldn't like start wars at the same time. Like I feel like he was just more on like the defense of it. Like he didn't want to start a war, but if one came, he wanted to be ready. And then for internalized, I kind of struggled with that part.
Yeah.
But the main thing that I could really find was like the fatherland aspect, which I don't agree with this, but like he kept it where it's like women are just like, they don't really have power. So it's like the less people with power, like the less that they can like rebel against him, I'm assuming.
Jomar, you hit on something that I think is important to mention, is that there is this balance of expansion at the same time, like not threatening your neighbors too much. If he had maybe been too aggressive, they would have treated that as more of a threat. This like steady kind of rise and growth though in consolidation over a long period of time. It's like a pot of water boiling over time. If you watch it, at a certain point you notice it's starting to boil, but for a long time you're like not seeing it get any hotter until it starts to boil. So I think that's maybe part of his legacy, is this balance. He's strong. Thank you, Germany group. Can we give them a round of applause? You all had one of probably our harder readings that we've had this year, so thank you for your bravery and for your confidence and your knowledge. All right. Andiamo. Let's go to Italy, folks. Andiamo is Italian for let's go. Can I have a volunteer from the Germany group to read the summary? Jordan, you want to do it? And Nikki, you want to do half of it? Nikki, you want to read first or second? Second. All right. So Jordan, can you read up to where it says community?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Maria.
This article takes a slightly different approach. It tells the story of a fictional woman who lived through a long history of Italian nationalism. Italian nationalism got its start with Napoleon, whose invasion helped the first unified city-states as Italian princes tried to think of themselves as hard example.
Several revolutions against Austrian domination of the peninsula failed in 1820s, 1830s, and 1848. The article addresses several prominent Italian nationalists and the kingdom they finally helped create in 1861, but the reality of an Italian nation state was far from the ideals of many Italian nationalists.
Great, thanks. Yeah, Italy is less than 200 years old. It celebrated its 150th anniversary in 1991. No, I'm sorry, 2011. This is why I teach history now. Oh my gosh, I'm only a few years away from having my first set of ninth graders born in the 2010s.
Oh.
Well, you guys are what, 07, 08?
Almost 7.
So you're 08, yeah, I'm not too far away.
We don't count sevens.
No, you're.
that's the Gen Alpha.
No, it's technically it's not.
It's a
I
Gen
think
Alpha.
Alpha's after 2020.
No, it's 13.
It's, I thought it was 2012.
2012.
That's what I heard.
But personally, we don't count. Like, or tens down.
No.
You not see?
My sixth graders from last year.
Alright. Here we go. So this was our vocab words. I think the one that we looked up was bayonet. What is a bayonet?
It's like a knife attached to a weapon.
Yeah, a knife attached to the end of a rifle.
Oh.
Oh, patriotism?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's an ism, which is a belief. It's a belief that you should be a patriot. What's fascism? Yeah, this is a really good one. Italy group, can you tell me what is fascism?
Like it does the test. It said it was like kind of like a strong form of like nationalism.
Yeah, often combined with militarism. We will talk about fascism when we get to Unit 7 in World War II. Italy will become a fascist state, so will Nazi Germany, and some might argue parts of Japan. There are elements of fascism still in the world today, where we see this belief in like this super nationalism mixed with belief in violence and often like support for the military or the police. And I think the other words we were pretty familiar with. Okay, so a very similar question to the Germany group. Can you describe the Italian peninsula before 1800? How are political communities organized?
So for the first part, I put the Italian peninsula had really been unified for centuries. Italy was Europe's battlefield. The last people who had ruled a unified Italy had called themselves the Roman emperors. And then for the second part, I had put they were structured as the city-states, and the city-states didn't like each other. So we pulled a quote, and the quote we had pulled were these Italian city-states hating each other more than they feared.
Great, that was a really nice response, Amy. Thank you. So city-states, we've had city-states for a very, very long time. Do we still have city-states?
Yes.
What's a city-state? So I'm just gonna pop out for a second. We're gonna go to our map. So we have states, right? Right? We have states, and these states are controlled by state capitals. Right? So, for example, let's go to New England. What's the capital of Massachusetts? Boston, okay? So Boston and City Hall makes the decisions for the rest of the state. Okay? Now Boston is a very different city than Pittsfield. Okay? But Boston makes a lot of decisions for the entire state of Massachusetts. Geographically, we have a city-state, if we want to call it that, where the capital is like on one side, as opposed to Hartford. Look where Hartford is. I mean, Hartford's kind of right in the middle of Connecticut, right? That's maybe ideal so that you can get lots of people coming to the same place. New York is not like that. New York, there's the capital, Albany. Right? There's a whole big stretch of New York out here and up here that might take some time, and that influence might be resented. So we do still have city-states, and all of the United States are unified into one country. Not too different how Italy unified with all of its city-states. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, cool.
So are city states just like the cities inside of the state, like literally like something?
Well, it started off as it started off like it started where we had some of these major cities like Naples, like Milan, like Venice, like Florence, that would have controlled the territory surrounding the city. Okay. Over time, those get unified into one nation ruled by one capital city. And that's kind of the model that gets spread out. All right, I've been talking way too much. Sorry about that. Let's go to number 2. How did Napoleon, our old guy Napoleon, help start Italian nationalism?
Okay, so basically, as we said before, the Italian states kind of hated each other more than they hated foreigners. But when Napoleon came and conquered them, he gave them a common goal. And as we learned with nationalism, or like I think it was ethnic.
Ethnic nationalism?
When they have something common and they share something, they're more likely to be unified. So that's how Napoleon helped start Italian nationalism.
So the power of a common enemy is pretty potent. All right, let's go to number 3. Why did the revolutions of 1848 fail to create a unified Italy?
Yeah. So the new Roman Republic only lasted a few months because, like, most or all of the revolutions at the time, they failed because of disunity in Italian revolutionaries, and in this case, it was Florentines that failed to cooperate with Romans, and Republicans failed to cooperate with monarchists.
Monarchists? Yeah, people who supported the king.
And so that, like, their disunity made the whole new republic fall apart.
Like we mentioned in 1, these rivalries were old rivalries. It'd be like trying to create let's create a Springfield basketball team from all the different Springfield high schools. That would be kind of tough, wouldn't it? There's some rivalries. That'd be tough. And you might need the right coach, the right leader to pull off something like that. All right, lastly, number 4. What helped Count Cavour succeed in defeating the Austrians and establishing the Kingdom of Italy in 1861?
Alright, so Cavour, right? He was a diplomat, so he could like go around like talk to people, and he was like good at that. So him like doing that, he gained like the French as an ally for the city state. I don't know how to say it, it's like Piedmont, Sardinia.
Piedmont?
Yeah, Piedmont, Sardinia.
Good.
Right. So the French was an ally for that, and so since the French supported them as like, so they were able to like win like their like battles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they also made compromises, and like one of their compromises was that instead of Italy being a republic, it was a kingdom.
Mm.
So that's how.
Okay. Hey, let's give a round of applause to our Italy group. Thank you so much. Do you remember the name of the king of Italy, the first king of Italy?
His name was Victor.
Victor
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel. There's this really impressive building you can go to Rome. There's this really impressive monument called the Victor Emmanuel Monument. Pretty cool. I've seen it a couple times. Yeah. That's it there. So that looks like pretty Italian, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, the Italian flags, but it also looks like pretty Roman.
Is it called pizza?
No, not like so here it is, and check this out. What's interesting,
Oh, it's in the middle of like this.
one last little lesson on nationalism, and then I'm gonna have you guys do some writing practice. The Victor Emmanuel Monument in Rome, and I only know this because of my years as a Latin teacher and studying Latin in this area a lot. The Victor Emmanuel Monument is right next to the Roman Forum, the ancient Roman Forum here. Right? So there is this, and there's the Colosseum, right? You know what that's here.
Oh yeah.
So it's all like in this heart of the city that is supercharged with these like ancient ideas about who we are as Romans, who we are as like Italians. It all gets mixed together.
Mr. Aren't there
Yeah.
some places where like when people were building things, they would like kind of like do it geometrically so they can like connect them underground and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean a good example of that would be Washington D.C. If you look at Washington D.C. from the air, you can see like how geometric. Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally all of them see.
Like look at how
It's literally
all of these spokes. Yeah. There's the National Mall, and like you can see how organized it all is.
It's so nice.
I've been. It's really
Springfield
And I
is
think
not
Springfield
as
No, I
Yeah,
don't see Springfield. I don't think so.
so our city is
Thank you.
It's not
I was expecting worse. Like there's those twisty streets, I like that.
there's a lot of like kind of twisty streets. It's a bit more organic. You guys should see Boston.
Guys, I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Okay, Boston makes my dog.
I mean, this is a mess. Right? You got maybe this one sentence in Boston. This part is like such a mess. Look at all these crazy, windy, wild streets. New York. New York is much more organized too. Well, especially Manhattan.
That makes me want to throw up.
city.
I want to live there, but I feel like if I thought about this, I would take a train all the way back home.
But then the farther south you get, it gets a little kind of messier.
Oh, which one?
Oh, to the south.
Manhattan, Brooklyn. There's Brooklyn.
People built all that. That's so cool.
Queens.
No, that's not.
There's Queens. But it's still like you can see it's not. There's no shapes that we saw in DC. DC was a brand new city. All right, my friends. We have about 15 minutes left in today's class. I would love to get your thoughts on one of these 4 questions that you get to choose from. So, depending on which one you read, I'd like you to write about it. So you have 2 questions here. Because we did so great, I'm going to bump our writing amount down from 4 to 6 to 3 to 5. I would still like one quote from the text. So this is what we are up to for the end of class.
That's what we just said.
You only need to choose one question to respond to. You want to write it on paper? That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. So this will be a nice little preview of what's coming next week with our first in-class essay on Tuesday. Essay. Right. Any questions for what we're up to? Yeah, I did. All right, folks, we have about 15 minutes. And it's right there at the top of the classroom for you.
Mr. I don't remember when we read the thing and it said if this was a true story or not, like the Italian national. Is it based off of an actual woman?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's fictional.
Why would you?
I swear, cause they put it kept saying you.
I know,
You
but
were-
like it's so real. Like someone actually. I mean,
Oh,
someone
yeah,
probably
yeah,
did
yeah.
actually go through that, but it wasn't based off You gotta slow down a little bit. It's
Yeah.
not-
Make a list of the different identities she might have had.
My rapper's name is I should put it in quotation.
You can maybe use like, when you're making your list, you could, for each like part of your list, you can use your checks. For one of them.
Don't worry.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, that sort of big man history is.
Wait, how did they not get a book? I don't like you say in one book.
It's hard to not do that, but at the same time, there's so many other schools. It's a great example. No. They could, depending on where you live, they could inherit land.
How do you have stuff?
For the list one,
For the Italian national question, how do you want us to fulfill? No, but I want to talk about the first one. There's like, how do you
yeah, I think you can use some evidence from the text to back up what you think. Like, I think this because there's this in the text. If you weren't able to get to any of these readings, let's use some of this time maybe to just like do the basics, find vocabulary, maybe highlight some key ideas. Yes.
Oh, I got it.
Did you read it? Yeah, the physical copies. So maybe we can use this time to highlight those words. Okay. Yeah, I like those quotes.
I'm just gonna pass back some creative work while you guys type. I wish I had more.
I wish I had more creative work to give back.
Damn.
A lot. All of this on the test.
This board left off is.
Oh, yeah.
I thought possibly I'm singular. Multiple women. Yeah. I think it's W. Well, women is WO.
Yeah,
One.
yeah, that's why I'm gonna do
I think because I stapled a couple together.
No, everyone don't.
Stronger. This is not true. I'm gonna figure yours. Story.
Still looking with them.
Story.
That's all I learned.
Try to demonstrate. Same
I already know two, no, three. I know like that. I know like almost 3 languages. English, I'm a
I'll eat all of it.
I used to. I don't know what it means.
That's good.
What's free
Sure.
foresight? That's not hello. Yes, it is.
I still have it.
Abbreviate simple.
I think Mr.
You good?
Mr.
Yes.
Free foresight.
What's that?
Free foresight.
Free Francais?
What's that? The way he said it though?
Something France?
Free France. What does it say in France?
You can say it. Is there a little?
Oh,
No, I thought that's it.
because I feel like Siri would know.
Free foresight.
See? I feel like Siri would understand.
No, wait. Do Google Translate. Ready? Ready?
Why are you asking?
Cause that's the only thing I know. Free foresight.
What's that from?
No, I just heard a lot of people saying it, so I decided to say it. Free foresight.
No, I'm good.
See, Free Francais.
Free foresight.
Folks, we have about 5 more minutes to get our responses in.
about 5 minutes.
Where's the F?
The story would have been very different if it was told by common women. Men could purchase land and be rulers. In the article, it states kings in this narrative Italy. These women were doing all they could.
You're not
These women. That's okay. That's what we're focusing on.
Oh, that's good.
About would do or did. They did all they could for their country. You gotta use the right there. You use the ERE, you use the EIR. That's okay. These women did all they could for their country. They were literally burying their children, keeping the population sustainable. They were building houses where men would stay at. They couldn't even vote. These women had no say in what could happen in EIR in their country, but they were bringing in the next generation of society. I like it. It's good. We just gotta be careful of our wares and theirs. All right, folks. So I'm looking at about 10 out of 26 turned in so far. I should see that number climb throughout the day. In these closing moments, can I just say a few words and then we'll get out of here in about 5 minutes or so? Yeah. Okay. Just want to say a few words. So, hi guys. Hi. I have noticed a few trends, good and bad. What do you want to start with? The biggest trend that I've started to see is we are skipping a lot of readings. Every time a reading is assigned and due, my annotation inbox is pretty light. Now, what is the problem with skipping readings? It impacts our ability to use class time to write effective responses. We're not prepared for what is essentially like a reading quiz every time I give a reading. If you want to think of it like that, we have a reading quiz every time we have a reading. I see that you are reading with your annotations. Okay? I see that we're reading with our annotations. And then I get to know like what you got out of it from your writing. It's those two pieces together that help me know that you are like with us and making sense and trying to absorb as much of this as possible so that we can make connections and so that everything that's coming won't be like super confusing. Okay. Not only that, the readings and the writings get into your checks for understanding. We have one tomorrow on Unit 2.3. So for tonight, what I'd like you to do is prepare for your 2.3. I linked all of the readings, 4 readings and 1 video for our unit on nationalism, as well as the vocab list. I'm going to be pulling 24 words from this vocab list.
What?
24 words.
We should know this.
Oh, you'll be surprised tomorrow with what they are. I'm not going to tell you what they are. So, the good thing is, I feel like we're kind of past the first quarter of high school is always just like figuring out how to do high school, figuring out where the bathrooms are, figuring out how to get to your classes, figuring out who your friends are, who your teachers are, what their vibe is. I feel like we're kind of ready to take that next step, okay? With both our like work difficulty and our output. I have seen already so much growth with individuals with their writing, with their reading, with their organization, with their participation. Right? You guys are growing. I see it. I hope you know it and feel it too. We're making improvements. Some of us are making some great improvements. We just gotta kind of like keep going, okay? We're gonna continue to turn up the resistance, turn up the heat, add a little bit more weight so that we can get stronger and stronger and stronger. I always want you feeling like this is doable, but it's challenging. That's my goal. Doable but challenging. Okay? So tomorrow, check for understanding. Next week, in-class essay. Then we start Unit 3. Yes, you can turn in your annotations in my inbox.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like quarter.
Thank you all so much. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Thursday.
I never been